All right, the Penn State Blitz is back for another week. No Bob Flounders, so we brought Dustin Hockensmith in. How you doing, buddy?
I'm just as gingery.
That's right.
Let's do it, yeah.
We kept on the same track. So the news of the week since we last talked, Penn State, of course, landing commitment number 11 from John Dunmore, Hollywood, Florida, 4-star wide receiver, first receiver in this class, and really the first big win for Jaywan Sider. Dustin, we knew that he was going to be a Sunshine State recruiter, and he finally gets his first one.
So he committed to, Dunmore committed to Sider while he was at Florida, and then he re-recruits him at Penn State and lands him a really good prospect here, Greg. And I think some people are concerned about the longevity of his commitment, and we're just going to have to let that play out. Florida State, as we've talked about before, he called it his dream school. Florida State has not given him their best pitch yet. So if Florida State does push hard this fall, you could have a situation where Dunmore decommits, and that's been a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I think that when you look into what this recruitment means, I think the question I have is, James Franklin is known to not take commitments unless he really thinks a guy is going to stick, and we've heard him talk many times about his belief that, you know, a commitment is like marriage, and there's no divorces, there's no talking to other schools, there's no seeing other programs and going on official visits. So I guess the question you have to ask yourself is the Penn State staff had to feel pretty good about this. Otherwise, I'm not sure they would have taken his commitment.
We've heard from others how this goes, right? So the kid calls James Franklin up, or somebody else gets patched through to James Franklin and says, "Coach, I want to commit." He gives the pitch about just that. No visits, none of that, no interest, no talking to other schools. And if the kid on the other end says, "I got it, Coach, I'm going to do that," but you take it, but there's nothing to stop the kid from going back on his word, so to speak. So that's the cynic view of this. The optimist will say, John Dunmore is a really good player, and Rivals has him ranked number 47 overall in the country. They really like his game. He's different than a lot of the receivers they have coming through. He's different than the 3 guys in the 18 class. Probably, I would say, the first of 2 wide receiver commits, if I'm guessing, in this class, and we'll touch on one of those guys who's off the board, too.
Right, yeah. So, and the one thing I'll just note there is finally a win for David Corley, too. He gets a recruit in this class, and I think that we'll see what he can do over the next couple of years. We don't know as much about him, but he recruits a little bit everywhere, and I think that he's a pretty versatile guy that should be obviously on the prowl for another receiver. One guy he won't hunt, as you mentioned, John Mechie. He commits to Alabama along with tight end Jaleel Billingsley. Dustin, is it a positive that Penn State's battling head-to-head with Alabama, or more of a negative? Does the negative fact that they didn't land either of these guys outweigh the fact that they're now in the conversation with the Crimson Tide defending national champs?
Yeah, I'm neutral about it. I think there's no region outside the state of Pennsylvania that's safe from Alabama. So even with Mechie, who that Canadian pipeline to the state of Maryland, Penn State was at the top of his board for the longest time, all the way through Blue-White weekend. Then Alabama started giving its full court press with Josh Gaddis, the former Penn State assistant down there. And sometimes that appeal was just a little bit too much. And then the Jaleel Billingsley from Chicago, Penn State was on him, and then you didn't hear much, and then Penn State was back on him again. He was back on campus. But Alabama, again, made a push for him. I don't think it's any deeper testament to where Penn State is or isn't on a national level. If a kid wants to go south and play for that brand, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop them. And I think that if a kid is in Penn State's backyard, that's another thing. In Chicago, in Maryland, which is a pretty national recruiting territory, I'm not ready to make any statement about where Penn State is as a national recruiting power.
All right, one more thing to get into here on the Penn State Blitz. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/allpennstate. Dustin, the next recruiting thing, barring a surprise that's on the horizon, is Salim Wormley's commitment. 3-star guard from Delaware. He'll decide between Notre Dame, Rutgers, and Penn State, supposedly on July 23rd. I don't know about you. I have a hard time seeing Penn State not getting number 12 then.
It's hard to fathom, no disrespect to Rutgers, in any head-to-head battle, a kid choosing Rutgers over Penn State. You have to buy into the reconstruction of that brand, the ongoing reconstruction of that brand, where Penn State is an established school, an established power, has a coaching staff that everybody seems to like. They have that family feel. I'm guessing Penn State on this one. There's not a whole lot of evidence that suggests that Rutgers is going to overtake them. Penn State's the leader, and I expect